Hey guys, how you doing? Hope everyone's well. It's your boy M.K.S back again with another video, and I've uploaded quite a few today, so please forgive me if it's too many. Hope it's not. Sticking on the theme of business and ideas, business ideas, enterprise, and all that. The M.K.S B.N.I, as the title suggests, and is my initials, Kavit Shenton, and Business Networks International. So for a long time I had, followed up from my last video, for a long time I had these ideas about creating networks, business networks, like the Dyslexic Billionaires Network, the M.K.S Dyslexic Billionaires Network. I think how that idea came about, as far as I can remember, and I know I didn't take a huge amount of action about it, but I did, or with it, but I did write it quite a lot. Was when I was at college, and I was at college for people with learning disabilities. Well, the college itself wasn't, but this group was, because my mum took me to this place for independent living, and someone from that group said, would you like to be part of this group? So I thought I'd give it a go. Many of those had more challenging disabilities, shall we say, like Down syndrome or conditions like that, so I didn't really find it challenging enough. But not that I'm that smart myself, but without wanting to be offensive, but I kind of wanted to leave because I wasn't finding it challenging enough, but I was too sort of polite to say. I didn't know how to say it because I was a bit too chicken to say, and also I didn't want to offend people, whatever. But anyway, so I stuck with that group quite a long time. I don't know if it did me good or not, because it was good to meet people and all that, but perhaps if I was in a group which was more challenging, it would have done me better. But never mind. Anyway, I had some fun times anyway. But yeah, I had all these grandiose dreams, and I wrote, and I used to read about famous dyslexic people. So then I thought, imagine if there was a network of dyslexic people who happened to be billionaires, and and so yeah, so I thought, imagine this group of already financially successful people, and how, as a brand, it would be really strong. So anyway, as I've talked about in my previous video, how my ideas have changed from wanting to be someone who wanted to make money for myself to wanting to be a philanthropist and things like that. So in the past, when I had these ideas of these networks, I thought they'd be free to join, but what they'd do is they'd meet up together, whatever the network was, for people from certain backgrounds, like dyslexic billionaires, maybe Indian billionaires, Chinese billionaires, whatever specific group. To be a part of the group, they would have to meet the description of the group. So they'd have to be, in this case, let's say, dyslexic and billionaires. I would be the only non-billionaire member as the founder. Like a group for Indian millionaires or Indian billionaires, you'd have to be specifically, because I take things literally, you'd have to be specifically from those backgrounds, not to be racist or divisive or whatever, but just that it would sort of fit the description. And what they do is meet up, let's say once a week or whatever, or they communicate online, because it could be a huge amount of members internationally. Nowadays online you could do like teleconferencing, Skype or whatever. Obviously I can't imagine they'd all meet up in a conference hall, let's say, but they could perhaps go and also have physical meetings, so to speak, if you know what I mean, rather than just online. And then they'd share ideas, network together, share their experiences. So for instance, a dyslexic billionaire in one area who wants to learn about another area can network with someone who has something in common with them. Normally these groups would be for people with things in common with them. Not necessarily to be, as I say, racist or prejudiced or divisive. It's just that the group would, as I say, I take things literally, and they would specifically be whatever that group was called. Hope I'm making some sense, as I say. And yeah, so I wanted to have 10% of each of these networks that I make, and as many networks as possible. But the idea is they encourage each other, share ideas, share expertise, experience. So if someone wanted to go into a different industry, they could have someone who's already been into that industry and knows about it, who could offer them advice. They could go through each other's plans and businesses and things like that. So business ideas and plans and all that, and scrutinize each other and just share ideas that the other person might not have thought about, and combine their ideas and things like that. Again, they could invest together. So like, I thought it'd be great if by law, possibly in return for investing or supporting less successful dyslexic people, shall we say, or dyslexic people who are financially disadvantaged, because dyslexia is normally classed as a disability. In that specific case, I thought it'd be great if we put pressure on international governments to say that we'd get massive tax cuts, or possibly even be that the tax we pay could be going into investing in fellow dyslexics, which hopefully would come back to those. So those were some ideas that are probably quite naive, and I still have those kind of ideas, but now the difference is I've probably learned a few things, and I'd love to take advice from other people a bit more, and I'm more willing to listen to advice as much as I can. And the other thing is, and knowing some of my weaknesses as well, perhaps, and my naiveties and my lack of taking action, whatever, and also knowing, or I'm probably getting a bit better at taking action, and also now I'd like to give the profits to different groups. So if I got a lot of money for it, I would give that money straight away to investing in financial education or entrepreneurial education for dyslexic people across Africa and Asia, things like that, for instance. And I'd love to set up, encourage business people, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, to set up, like say Richard Branson could set up a project called the Next Richard Branson in, say, India, and it will train dyslexic people to learn his business and skills is probably not his, to learn what he did in business and that sort of thing. And like, even if I can convince people like Bill Gates to set up those sorts of centers, I know that's going a bit off topic, but yeah, so the next Bill Gates could be something where Bill Gates sets it up as part of charity or something like that, and he trains young women in Africa to be the next Bill Gates. So the next Bill Gates could be a woman from Africa in technology and things like that. So anyway, I hope I'm making sense, I'll say. But yeah, so I'm thinking lots of networks like the Republic Network, bringing together different republics to network together. And basically, as I say, they would meet up possibly each year. A different republic could host those events. They would meet up and discuss ideas or trade, work together politically, business and trade, and whatever other areas, and encourage each other and network together, share each other's plans and help each other with developing, growing 5 to 10 year plans, and advise each other and set up entrepreneurial centers for young people from republics, and also award and acknowledge those who are the biggest contributors to republics, and things like that. So I think there was something I was going to say, but I can't quite remember. Yeah, so that, the idea of the networks is probably, again, I don't know if you think it's a naive idea or a poor idea or what people think, but the idea of the networks is basically a group of people generally with something common, like, as I say, as an example, dyslexic billionaires or Indian billionaires or Asian billionaires generally, or whatever, who would meet to get up together. And I dream to make as many networks as possible, as I did in the past, but again, to give them profits away, and then meet up and then discuss ideas, and then invest together, share expertise and knowledge, and just generally support and encourage each other and look at common ground and advise each other and things like that. And like I thought, the M.K.S Dyslexic Billionaires Network would be like as a huge brand, so a part of branding and working together as teams and encouraging each other and supporting each other, and also complementing each other's strengths and weaknesses and all that sort of stuff. So where a person or a company might be weak in one area, they can work with another group that might be stronger in that area, and vice versa. And so they cover each other's weaknesses and feed off each other's strengths and things like that. But yeah, they meet up once a week. Up front, they wouldn't have to pay any fees, but they would. My idea was that they pay 10% commission when they did make money. So, but they'd only have to pay that if they made money. And a lot of my ideas are like sort of worked on that sort of thing. But yeah, they'd invest together and that sort of thing. And they could be a general billionaires network, a general dyslexic network, and all sorts of things like that. So a lot of it's like my patterns, or wanting to think of things in infinite possibilities and things like that. As ever, I'd love to know what you think about these ideas. I hope I can take any criticism. I hope someone out there liked this idea, or at least like my imagination of how I think of things. And something that inspired me is a conference I saw from Dyslexic Advantage, where they talked about how this guy was saying how non-dyslexic people, he said, they don't like his ideas. And he said he has so many, and not all of them are good, but the ones that are good, even those people don't actually like them. And when he read this book, The Dyslexic Advantage, he worked out that non-dyslexic people it suddenly clicked into him that non-dyslexic people have to we think differently. So it's almost like opposite to academia, because in academia, like by the time non-dyslexic people have gone on, moved on to another assignment, we take a lot longer. But in business, in many cases, not all cases, obviously, but in many cases, we're already ahead, and people are still trying to work out what we're trying to say, or also how we think of things differently, I suppose. So that gave me a bit of confidence that just because people say my ideas are bad doesn't mean they're right. So that's what I often think. So although I try and take advice on board, it doesn't mean I listen to what everyone says and say, oh, they must be right. But I do try and understand some of the things that they come up with when they say potential weakness in my idea. Anyway, I think I've waffled enough. Please let me know what you think. Peace and love. Oh, possibly a question could be, if there was a network like this, would you join it? If there's no upfront fee and you had nothing, you would invest obviously off your own decisions on what you think was right for you to invest in. But so you'd still have choice, no pressure to invest in something you didn't want to. So if they invested together, you could say, I don't really agree with that idea or whatever. But the more you invest, the more time, the more money, the more energy and all that, the more you'd get out of it. So your share would be higher, but all the group members would just, each one would have a vote where they decide. Maybe the ones who are more financially successful would have more of a say, but which I suppose for people who are not as financially successful, you could say that could be something where they think they might not be listened to as much. But then again, they could on the flip side, they could gain a lot of knowledge and support, expertise, and whatever from people who have already achieved what they want to achieve and things like that. So I know there could be, like you could say, there could be different arguments about disagreements or whatever. But yeah, the people who put more in would be able to get more out of what they put in. So yeah, I came up with some really strange networks, like companies that have the initial MS, like Marks and Spencer or Microsoft or companies like that working together. So I know they're probably quite naive. But yeah, as I say, I'd love to know would you join a network like that if you didn't have any upfront fees and you didn't have to pay anything if you didn't make anything. But it's still, obviously, every business is going to be a risk. So you would still have to risk your own capital as well, obviously. But you do only do that if you're comfortable. You're going to have to do that in any business anyway. Any business you run, you're going to have to put in your own capital, I'd imagine. I can't imagine a business. It's unlikely there'd be a business where you wouldn't have to put your own capital in anyway. So whether you network together, but in this case, you still get each other's expertise and you can sit together as a team and talk about the pros and cons or strengths and weaknesses of each idea and basically brainstorm together as well, each other's plans. So from that point of view, yeah, I'd love to know what you think, like any sort of weaknesses you think of these ideas. Like, again, am I being naive? And any weaknesses you might think that these ideas have, if you, maybe points I haven't even thought about. And if you say like it's a poor idea, I'd love to know why you think that. Because maybe when a new idea comes into the market, people are always skeptical anyway. But I think that, again, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad idea, but it could do. But again, like if you're a business person like Richard Branson, you want to go into a new area, you want to go into the brokerage industry or whatever, and then you've got Charles Schwab, who's another dyslexic billionaire, and through each other, he can go into that area. And also, like even though Virgin have Virgin Mobile, perhaps there are other things that Virgin Mobile don't know. And another, I think, like Craig McCaw, who was in the cellular industry, which is, I think, the same as mobile phones, but I don't know if that's an Americanism or what. But anyway, he might be able to know something that Richard Branson doesn't know, and things like, and vice versa, or have an idea that each other don't have, so they can feed off each other. Anyway, sorry if I waffled a bit. As I say, I'd love to know what you think are some strengths or weaknesses of this idea, or any thoughts you have. Please post them. Thanks.